Welcome back, everybody, to Richard White Global, where we break down the past to understand the present. Let's get into it. So, did U.S. presidents and vice presidents always run together? Did presidents and vice presidents always run on a ticket together? Well, the short answer is no. They absolutely did not. And the way elections originally worked almost caused a constitutional crisis. Let me explain. The original system worked this way. When the Constitution was written in 1787, there were no tickets for president and vice president. Instead, they allowed each state to determine how their electors would be chosen. Some states appointed electors, some states' electors were voted for, and in other states it was a hybrid of appointments and voting. Each elector would cast two votes for president, not one, but two. The candidate with the most votes simply became president. And the person who come in second place, well, he became vice president. Seems like a pretty simple system. But think about that for a second. That means your political opponent could end up as your second in command. So why did they design it this way? Well, the founding fathers believed that people would vote for individuals, not teams. They did not expect political parties to take over the system so quickly. But that assumption, it did not last long. The first big problem came about in the election of 1796. Political parties had already been formed, and that's where things got awkward really fast. John Adams became the second president of the United States. But his political rival, Thomas Jefferson, came in second place. So Jefferson wound up becoming the second vice president of the United States. Two opposing parties were running the executive branch together. Can you imagine that today? President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris? You talk about a constitutional crisis of another level. But it did create tension, disagreement, and a really divided leadership. Then came the election of 1800. This is where the system completely fell apart. Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr were supposed to be on the same side. Jefferson for president and Burr for vice president. But remember, electors cast two equal votes. So their party voted for both men. And the result, well, you guessed it, a tie. It was a complete tie. Folks, this is where it gets serious. Because of that tie, the decision went to the House of Representatives. And it did not get resolved quickly, which obviously some things never change. It took 36 separate votes to decide the outcome. 36. And at that point, the country was on the edge. There was no clear president. There was no clear outcome. So finally, Thomas Jefferson was chosen president, and Aaron Burr became, obviously, vice president. But by then, it was obvious that this system was completely and totally broken. To prevent this from ever happening again, a change was made. So in 1804, the 12th Amendment was ratified. And it changed everything. Electors could now cast one vote for president and a separate vote for vice president. This allowed candidates to officially run together as a team and also as a ticket. So how does that work today? So today, when you vote in the presidential election, you're actually voting for two people at once, a president and a vice president. They campaign together, they run together, and yes, they are elected together. This system exists because the original one absolutely failed. Now, why does this matter? Folks, this wasn't just a small adjustment. It reshaped American politics. It strengthened the political parties. It created unity in its leadership. And it prevented the kind of chaos that was seen in 1800. Although some may disagree with these points, and justifiably so, in today's American political climate. So, no, presidents and vice presidents did not always run together. In fact, the original system almost guaranteed conflict. It took one of the most chaotic elections in American history to force this change. And ever since then, running as a unified ticket has been a core part of the American democracy. Because sometimes it takes a broken system to build a better one. And on a side note, little did they know one day they would become part of a musical that millions would not miss their shot to see. So if any of you enjoy the content that breaks down history like this, in a way that explains how the past shapes the present, make sure to follow along right here on Richard White Global. I'm Richard White, and as always, this is the channel where political correctness goes to die and the facts live on. I'll see you on the next one.